National Fire Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the National Fire Radio podcast. This week, the week of May 15th, 2023. All new episodes, including a new drop by the Size Up. So check it out, 5 new episodes this week. We appreciate you coming back day after day, week after week to hear the good word. We have incredible guests with such powerful stories and messages to share, and that's what this job's all about, is talking about it, because when we talk about the job, like I say in every episode, we're making the job better. Check it out, but do me a favor in the meantime, like, subscribe, and share. Talk about the podcast, talk about our social media channels. We appreciate the support. Drop us an email at podcast@nationalfireradio.com for any thoughts or ideas you have about the show, any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And lastly, do me a favor. Before we roll into the episodes, we couldn't do it without our partners, so please give our partners a few minutes of your time as we talk about the job and the friendships we make along the way. Hey guys, before we start the podcast, real quick, I want to mention the Gone to Texas Fire Forum and Expo being held in Arlington, Texas on June 9th and 10th. Myself, I'm going to be emceeing the event for 2 days with nationally renowned speakers that will be there for the weekend. Mo Davis, Clyde Gordon, Rick George, Mickey Farrell, Jacob Johnson, Dennis Riley, and so on. The list goes on and on. I was there last year, helped MC the event last year. It is a growing conference in an incredible venue. Globe Life Field, which is home to the Texas Rangers in Arlington, Texas, right in the entertainment district, right at the PBR bar, which we're going to have a social after the first night. I'm telling you right now, there's no other venue like this. The room actually overlooks the field. You get to walk the stadium. It is such a cool venue. Arlington, Texas, June 9th and 10th. Check them out. Go on to TexasFireForum.com or go to Facebook and look them up there too. Go on to Texas Fire Forum where you can buy your tickets, get great hotel rates. And if anybody's asking you where you're going this summer, you tell them, go on to Texas. This episode's brought to you by Taylor's Tins. Taylor and his crew at Taylor's Tins have been manufacturing aluminum helmet fronts since 2017 with over 200,000 tins in the market. They are a leader in the helmet front space. Custom design, one-offs to department orders, they can turn them around within 24 to 48 hours. Customer service is what they pride themselves on, and they provide nothing but top-shelf product and service to their customers. Check them out at taylorstins.com and check out their full line of product offering. They've always been a very strong supporter since day one with the National Fire Radio podcast and platform, and Taylor and his crew have become dear friends of ours, and we appreciate the support. And at checkout, for a little extra bonus, use coupon code NFR Sent Me. That's NFR Sent Me for a discount on your order. Exclusions do apply. Anyway, check out taylorstins.com for the latest and greatest offerings from Taylor and his crew. And in the words of Taylor, stop burning up leather. Hey everyone, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, Chris Overpeck. Chris, before I go into all the rundowns, I just want to say, what's up, brother? Thank you for being here. This is a good one for me, man. I'm excited to talk with you today. I really am.
Jeremy, it is an absolute honor that you had contacted me to be on the show today. The thing is, I have to start off by saying I'm not where I'm at because of myself. My mentors have taken me to this moment, and I really hope today that I can shed some light on that and show, what they put into me. I didn't create any of this. This is their doing. I really hope today, that I represent them right. And the bad thing is, many of them have passed away.
That's hard.
So I really hope that I come across and I do them justice, because this is based on them.
Well, I can tell you this, brother, knowing you for the time that I've known you now, it's always been just a very special relationship to me. You are an absolute gentleman, and you're always humble and paying it forward. I know that your mentors that are still here and the ones that have passed on, you've made them very proud. But I will say this, we all like to credit those around us for making us better, but it still takes the individual to be better. and the willingness to absorb the information from others, the willingness to be better and to make yourself better. And you only do that through learning from others. So if you didn't allow yourself to do that, brother, you would not be here today. So don't cut yourself short and give yourself a little bit of credit as well, pal. And frankly, like for me, this is exciting because, I met you through Steve Yelich, and Steve is you work with Steve. You worked with him. Now you got promoted on his birthday and moved on.
Yep.
Now you're probably racing him to jobs, which I absolutely love. I hope you're getting in front of him a little bit. I think that's a fun story. But he's one of those guys because he's kind of a mentor to me and how he carries himself, how he talks about the job, his passion, also his candidness and straightforwardness and sticking up for the guys and sticking up for the job and protecting the integrity of the job. Steve Yelich was on a past episode with me, and I value him times 10. And because of that relationship, I now have you in my life. And that means everything to me as well. So I am forever grateful for these relationships I make because of National Fire Radio, and you are certainly one of them. So this show today is all about you, brother. I want to talk about you and the impact that you make and the people that have impressed upon you, why you want to be the way you are. It's all of it, man. It's all of it.
And the thing about it is there's so much to go from, and it's so hard to pinpoint just certain areas because in my time in the fire service, there's only one word and phrase that comes into mind is I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
I have been so fortunate. I didn't create a lot of the information that I'm able to share. I was taught the information I was able to share. I was pushed. I was constantly told, be better, expect better, set goals, don't settle for second best. I've had some highs, I've had some serious lows.
Sure.
And I'm here to be transparent.
Yeah.
I want people to understand the struggle is real. The struggle within the fire service is real, whether it's staffing issues, whether it's pay, whether it's, this guy like me or that guy not like me. I mean, that all factors in. We're humans. We have feelings. We have things that mean the world to us. And I was very fortunate that I fell into the fire service. I'm no legacy. I don't have any family in the fire service. I went out of high school. I was in high school, and my goal in high school was to get out of high school.
Yeah.
And,
I get it.
And my parents were phenomenal people. They were both educators, both almost 40 years in education, teaching, and administration. And I learned early on to always try to better myself, try to learn. And at times I didn't take it as serious as I thought, as I wanted to, and I made commitments at times and I walked away from them. I have to live with those. But my mom was probably one of my biggest supporters and mentors growing up. She didn't let me settle. When I wanted to give up, she pushed me. To all the way to the point where, here I am senior year in high school. And like I said, I didn't know anything about the fire service. I was in high school. I was a young punk kid. And I knew college wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I knew it. And I thought, if I go to college, I'm wasting my mom and dad's money. I don't want to do that. So unbeknownst to my mom, one day I decided to go sign up for the United States Navy.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about coming home. Hey, what'd you do today? Oh, well, Mom, I'm leaving for boot camp in June.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 days after I graduate high school, I'm on a bus to Indianapolis on an airplane to San Diego.
What was their take on that? Being educators, knowing that you really weren't studious, right? I mean, they can recognize that and understand that, right?
I think my mom really looked at it as, I knew she was worried about me. There's
sure.
No doubt.
Who wouldn't?
I mean, that's a parent, and I'm sure at times she wondered, God, what is my son going to do with himself? Because I wasn't taking school as serious as I probably should have, and they had talked to me about education. Maybe you should think about being a teacher. Well, no, I don't want to be a teacher. I mean, I listened to your
I'm trying to get out of school. I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back. I mean, I don't want to have to work with the people that you work with.
Yeah,
because,
right.
Then I'm going to have your legacy over the top, Yeah, so I had no inkling of the fire service. I had none.
Wow.
Get into boot camp, and you realize real fast that aboard ship, everybody fights fire.
Yeah.
And I served my time in. I ended up taking an injury in the Navy. Got out of the Navy, and about that time, California it was a different organization out there than Cal Fire is today. It was called California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. And it was a very unique atmosphere because you had state rigs, you had municipality rigs, and you
Yep.
had county rigs.
Right.
And they could all be within one firehouse. So, I get out of the Navy and I enjoyed the firefighting and the damage control training that we went through. And I thought, man, that might be something I might get a kick out of.
Sure.
And so I did. I got into the California Department of Forestry aspect and was assigned to a small station in Riverside County. We covered a huge area because we were so rural. But, still a young, dumb kid. I learned, but I didn't take advantage of it.
Mm.
I did. I had some great mentors out there. I had some people that were phenomenal, but I was still in that groove of I'm 19 years old.
Yeah, you're young.
I can take on the world.
Yep.
And here at 19 years old, 20 years old, I'm married. I have a kid.
Wow.
I mean, oh, bro. And I screwed that up.
And you're still learning who you are, right? I mean, think about that, right? Yeah.
And I think I could bring a child into the world and be a successful dad. Oh man, I was so stupid. But like I said, we had a death in the family, came back to Indiana and stayed. But the little time, a couple of years I had, or 3 years in California, I had the bug, but I didn't have the maturity at that level. I mean, I knew where I wanted to go. I knew that I loved the fire service. Come back to Indiana, got involved with a couple different volunteer companies.
Right.
And then I started kind of getting into a groove. We had state fire schools at the time, and they were really, really popular. Started going to those, started to learn, okay, this is something I could see myself doing as a career. And was fortunate enough to go to quite a few classes on my own dime, on my own time. And it really worked out in a positive way. So as time progressed, I started testing for full-time fire departments. And then this is no joke. I'm watching all these friends of mine struggle, going through years of testing.
Yeah.
And in a week, in about a 10-day period, I had 3 conditional offers.
Wow.
Bro.
What, just dumb luck or what? I mean,
okay. I went into these tests thinking I don't have a chance in hell. I didn't study hard enough in high school.
Right.
How am I gonna compete with some of these people? And like I said, I had 3 conditional offers within 10 days. And it was crazy. Absolutely. I didn't know what to do. I was so confused because I'm like, okay, well, one of them is here in my hometown, South Bend, Indiana.
Right.
I had another conditional offer from a larger department. And then the third one that came in, as a volunteer in Indiana, I'd done some writing over there. And I got to know their job. I got to see the brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not saying the other departments didn't have that.
No, I get it.
I saw a different view.
Sure.
I consider myself coming from Pleasantville, USA. I mean, mom and dad were middle class, both working parents. They got divorced when I was about 13. My mom raised myself and my sisters. At a young age, I learned to make better decisions, because of watching some of their mistakes.
Sure.
So when things became legit and real, I had a hard decision to make. Which department do I take? For what reason?
Uh-oh. Your phone's cutting out. Where'd you go?
I'm sorry about that. Did I hear?
No, you're getting all wonky on me.
Oh.
What'd you do? Yeah. Move? All right, there you go. You good?
It's the technology in Indiana.
There it is.
A cow walked past the
We're back. Listen, people are gonna have to deal with it. Oh well.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Anyway, no, you're good. So go ahead.
So I knew my mom would ask, why are you choosing this department? Not out of a deterrent, but she wants to make sure I'm making sound decisions for myself.
Sure.
And I did. I sat down, and I ended up going to a very industrial, rough city, and it's called Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And I'd spent some time there riding, got to know some of the guys, had some really good mentors, just even riding there. At that time, you went and rode. There were times you were filling in for a guy who was off shift because their staffing was low.
So were you there as like civil defense or like a volunteer? Like what was?
No, it was a ride-along program.
A ride-along program. Okay.
They had a program. You could come in, sign a waiver, had to get approved by the fire chief.
Right.
and you could go hop on a rig and go as long as the company officers and everybody in the firehouse agreed to it.
Cool.
So I went and rode and got to know some people. Steve Florian, he used to be in Gary before he went back to Detroit.
Right.
And that's kind of how I got into it. I met Steve through the fire schools.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, come on, ride. It's legit. We go to a lot of work.
Yeah,
and,
they do.
As a rider, I mean, we go over there on a Friday and catch two or three jobs.
Right. Right.
And I'm coming off the rig and going to work. It wasn't like I was coming off sitting on the, I had to earn a little respect from the company officers, but the more you showed up, the more you went and rode, the more opportunity they gave you.
Yeah. Love
and
that.
so when we tested, that was that third conditional offer, and I knew where I needed to be. I mean, I'm young, they're catching fires, and that's what I wanted to do. I knew at that point in time that I had the offer. I had to grow up. I knew I had to make the big boys decisions, and that's what I did. So I took the job in Gary, went through the academy, and I did. I busted my butt, and shortly before graduation, and we were 26-week academy.
Right.
I was driving. I lived in South Bend. I drove to Gary, about an hour and 40-minute drive. So I was making the commute. And then one of the guys that was on the job in Gary, I got to know, and he allowed me to stay Monday through Friday. His name's George Humphreys. He allowed me to stay at his family's place in a town that was in between the two, so I didn't have so far to drive.
Right.
And, I'm forever grateful for that, because that helped me out, helped my situation out, helped finances and stuff like that during those times. So it was huge, and went through the academy. A couple weeks before we were going to graduate, of course, you know how it is. You go up to the guys who are given the assignments, and you're kind of smoozing them a little bit. And I said, hey, Chief, where am I going? And he told me, you're on Squad 2. And I thought he was full, because Squad 2 was a citywide heavy rescue, went to every fire in the city and ran no EMS.
Right.
I thought, yeah, whatever. I thought he was just blowing smoke on my butt. And lo and behold, we're standing there for graduation, and the Chief's giving out assignments, and here it comes. Chris Overpeck, second turn, Squad 2. Bro.
Yeah.
How
old are you?
What was I, 25?
Beaming.
Bro.
Yeah, right? I've made it. Let's go.
Oh, well, you talk about making it. That's where I fell on my face, but we'll get to
No,
that.
but that's my point, right? Like, yeah, that's all you wanted, right? Like, at that moment in life, you were like, going to the best shop in the city, and, and I'm going to go be the biggest and best I can ever be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did. I walked out of graduation on cloud 9.
100%.
Absolutely on cloud 9, because the shift I was going to had a couple legends on the job. You had Rob Grady, you had Tony Buckrop. The same station was Emmett Lewis was my first lieutenant. Emmett's no longer with us, and we had Big Joe Nevitt. I mean, I say these names out of respect. I'm not trying to name drop.
No,
but you know what? These guys they earn that respect.
Yes.
I want the world to know this is the guy who taught me.
Yes.
These are the people who mattered. These are the guys who gave me the tools to put me where I'm at today, looking at my 30th year.
Love it.
In total, I should say. But so absolutely cloud 9, go in, report into my first day. I'm not even in station 15 minutes. We catch a job.
Nice.
Bro.
Yep.
Here I am.
I'm home.
Gear. I am home.
Yeah,
I mean, we ended up catching 3 jobs that day.
It's a nice indoctrination to the firehouse, man. Bro, I'll tell you that much.
Bro, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. But that's the that's the type of city Gary is, though, too, right? And especially back then.
Oh,
yeah.
It was banner.
Right.
It was absolutely banner. And then I'm sitting here thinking, man, look at the company I'm with. Look at the names within this station. Look at the history of Squad 2.
Yeah.
Because those guys were in. One of them was my drill master, Bob Walker. Reggie Barksdale, Big Joe Nevitt, Greg Million. These were my chiefs.
Yep.
These were my captains. I mean, I'm riding with the creme de la creme of Squad 2 of Gary, Indiana, and those are our bosses.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for anything better. So there's a huge fortune that I was handed. And that's just dumb luck, maybe grace of God. I don't know. Maybe God knew where I needed to be.
Mm.
And with that, it's fun now because I share these stories, because it was an absolute ball.
Yeah.
being young, going to 3 to 4 jobs a shift. Sometimes, I think the busiest we caught was 11 in one shift.
Come on, really?
And oh, bro, yeah. We had a big fire over in the Black Oak, which was a southwest section of the city, and I think we had 11 structures going. But it was crazy, and I was just eating it up. I mean, absolute eating it up, and Gary was not just a fire service, but I learned so much about life and culture, and guys really took the time to put effort into me. They
That's
cared.
huge. Yeah.
My station captain, Donnie Williamson, he'd wake us up every morning. Tones dropped at 6 o'clock. Shift was over at 7. But 6 o'clock, dispatch would come on and say, "Good morning, Gary firefighters. This is company's in service." As soon as dispatch was done, my captain would pick up the phone and start serenading us. He would legitimately hit the intercom and start waking us up by singing.
I love it.
He was a phenomenal musician, but it was just, as a young kid, it was amazing.
Right.
I mean, I was in the fire world, Walt Disney of the fire world.
Well, it's everything you hoped and painted it to be, right? I mean, just this is what you wanted, and it was over. It sounds like it was over delivering.
Oh, it was more than I anticipated.
Yeah.
During the academy, you heard the stories, but these guys were legit. And poor city. I mean, people didn't have a lot, so I was humbled because we were going to fires and burned out buildings. And I remember the first few times they're like, "Hey, so-and-so's in the back. That's where he stays." I mean, we're making grabs on people that our guys already knew because they were homeless.
Right.
They already knew who it was.
Yeah.
So
right.
Once again, there's the human aspect.
Yeah.
It's not that they're rich, they're poor, they're white, they're black. No,
they're people.
They're human beings.
Yeah, they're people. They're humans.
It didn't matter, and they put such a big emphasis on that, and I was so fortunate because they taught me, they took the time, there was another guy in our firehouse, Kevin Benford. He grew up in Gary, and he had somebody in his family, I want to say it was his aunt, saw him going down the wrong path. So she sends him off to college. You're not going to go that route. You're not going to wind up a statistic, I guess.
Yeah, we're not letting this happen.
And there was always one instance. I mean, Kevin and I become friends. We still talk occasionally to this day. But there was one instance, and at the time you laughed it off. But afterwards, I took it to heart because I thought, wow, this is crazy. We're crawling into a working job, and I'm backing Kevin up on the hose line, and the house had firearms in it.
Right.
Well, of course, the firearms start cooking off and everything, and I'm right up on Kevin because, boy, I'm eating this. I'm ready. I mean, I want every bit of fire I can get. And I remember he shuts the nozzle down a little bit, and he starts laughing. And he says, "Hey, Overpeck." I said, "What's up, Kev?" He said, "I always thought I'd get shot, but I never thought it'd be in a house fire." Bro, And at the time, of course, you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're cracking up because it's funny. You don't expect it. But, looking back on that, damn, dude, that was deep. I mean, wow.
To have that wit about him, that even in that circumstance, he could take a half a second and just enjoy the moment, if you will, and lighten the mood, if you will. I love that. That's fun.
It was amazing. And those are the things that really made me start understanding that there's more to this than just pushing a hose down a hallway and throwing water on fire. There's a human factor that comes into this. 100. And I don't mean the people we serve. I mean, there's human factor with the guy you're crawling the hallway with.
That's right.
And it was fun because it didn't stop in the house. It didn't stop in the firehouse. It didn't stop. There was one day I never wanted to let these guys down because loyalty was huge.
Mm.
If you were a snitch, if you were a problem child, they didn't want you. And I remember one day I showed up late for work, and this is a story they love to tell because it always gets everybody laughing. But I showed up late for work. Grady comes out to me and he's like, "Hey, new guy, you're late." And he just tears into me. Right. He's my senior private at the time. Tears into me. And the last thing he says to me is, "The cap doesn't want you here. Go home." And I sat there. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So guess what I did? I get in my car. I start heading home. I start going home. So half hour later, my phone's ringing, and it's Grady on the other end laughing. You need to get your ass back to work, boy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, to this day, because finally the captain said, "Hey, where's the new guy?"
Yeah,
and
where is
Grady's
he?
like, "Oh crap, I'm messing with him," and he actually left.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
he picked up the phone and calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, you better bring your butt back to work, man. Cap wants to know where the hell you're at."
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
Those,
but
those moments, what did all these moments do for you? I mean, is this then where the framework was laid for you to really understand what this job was really all about?
oh, without a doubt, I mean, you never got downtime. And what I mean by that is, if you're sitting at the kitchen table, hey, tell me what a Type 3 building is.
Yeah.
Tell me what's the difference between a flashover and backdraft. I mean, they would constantly grill you, and it wasn't that they were picking on you; they were trying to get you to be better.
Was it always that way? Is that the culture there? I mean, why? These are senior guys that really took the time to work with you, though, right? I mean, that to me is what I think is most valuable about all of it is those guys with the experience are willing to take the time to share it.
Oh, without a doubt. And the thing was, that was just my house, but the whole city was like that.
Yeah.
The whole culture was like that. I mean, there were times, I got shipped off of my rig. They needed a young guy somewhere else. Hey, you're off the squad today. I need you to engine 12 or whatever. And you'd go in there, and those guys would get to know you, and they would put information into you, and they would critique you, and they would talk to you, and they would educate you. Like I said, I was ignorant to poverty.
Mm.
I was very ignorant.
I get it.
I mean, I grew up in a middle-class family.
That's right.
And these guys were going into neighborhoods where they personally had a value because they knew these neighbors.
Yeah.
They knew this person. They knew this person's house or who used to live there. And it was humbling because I got to a point where I started asking questions, because there were some senior officers, and I did. How bad was racism?
Mm.
Oh, the conversations of that, bro, was amazing.
Here's the thing, Chris. You bring up a very good point, right? You don't know what you don't know, right? And so growing up, and I'm very much the same way. I grew up in a middle to upper class neighborhood. That's what I know. That's where I went to school. I went to college. Like I didn't get the only exposure I had was what I saw or heard outside of the community that I grew up in, right? But you don't really deal with it. You don't see it firsthand. And now here you are in a tough town working, right? Coming from that middle-class neighborhood, you have to ask questions and you have to understand. You have to immerse yourself in the culture there so that you understand the people that you're working on behalf of. I mean, that's ultimately what you're doing is you're in service to those people of that community. And regardless of, like you said before, human beings, people, that's all that matters. That's the only thing we see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a wide wake up call. Cause I remember the first couple of times they were like, "5 what are you thinking?"
Yeah.
Because why do you want, and I even had one of them. Why do you care? Why do you want to know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was trying to be disrespectful, but I wanted to understand.
Yeah. Help me.
I truly wanted to understand. And, once again, God's good graces, Emmett Lewis and my captain, Donnie Williamson, they took the time. They taught me. This is what it's like. These streets are rough. This is a rough town.
Yeah.
The likeliness of some of these people ever getting out of here is slim next to none. And then the reality starts sinking in. There was multiple fires that were fatal, so that it was a double key deadbolt. And you'd find the person behind the front door with the key in their hand.
Yeah.
They lived in fear. They wanted to protect what was theirs.
Yeah.
Roll up doors and forcible entry, that was the city for it. Yep. I can't tell you how many times we spent minutes just trying to access the interior door.
Yeah.
And like I said, the personal value on that, so learning, trying to get out of being naive of things. And like you said, all you see is what you see, news and stories and whatever. But I was in a situation where, hey kid, wake up, take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Learn.
Yeah. This is your reality now.
Yeah.
Right?
Cause to me, I didn't see color.
Yeah.
I never saw color. I didn't, and to this day I still don't. And it's amazing because through those transitions, I kept building confidence.
Right.
And then they would bump you up a little bit, and then they let you drive, and they were constantly pushing you forward. Constantly pushing you forward. But the thing was, is they didn't accept mediocrity.
Yes. This episode's brought to you by Teledyne FLIR. Teledyne FLIR is the originator and creator of thermal imaging technology. In 2013, FLIR launched the K-Series camera for the public safety sector, in particular firefighting. They have created cameras over the last 10 years for every position on the fire ground. From tactical to situational, their cameras help us make the right decisions on the fire ground. So check out Teledyne FLIR, check out their product offerings, and engage them on their social media and ask them for more information and education in regards to their product. Teledyne FLIR is producing one of the best cameras on the market, and they're a proud sponsor and partner of the National Fire Radio podcast. So go over to www.flir.com and look up the public safety file, and you'll find the latest offerings from Teledyne.
And I have stories that just, it's funny because people think I'm so outlandish with some of my stories, but I'm like, here, I'm going to introduce you to the guy when we're at FDIC or whatever, and they hear the stories from somebody else or somebody confirms it. They're like, holy crap.
It's real
time in your life. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, there were times we were sitting on the side of the road because our city was poor. Okay. Yeah. So we lost our exhaust on the rig one day, and here we are on the side of one of the main streets using hazmat banding clamps to put our exhaust back together so we didn't have to turn our rig in.
Sure.
We got creative. You had to.
Yeah.
Because that's all you had. Yeah.
So how many years did you spend in Gary, Indiana?
Just shy of 7.
7 years there. Okay. And then is that where you ended up going back to Terra Haute? Like, how did you end up?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a 4-time loser. No. It came a point in time. I mean, I met a young lady and we fell in love.
Nice.
And she had 2 daughters. At this point in time in my life, I had 2 daughters, and I wanted good things for them. Me being gone, an hour and 40 minutes. That's basically 4 hours, even on my days off, that I'm gone.
That's right.
And I did. I longed for a family. And I had to make some changes, so within that time, we did some more testing, had a conditional offer with the city of Elkhart, Indiana. And it paid considerably more. I mean, I want to say it was like about a $25,000 increase from what I was making.
Wow.
And it was closer to home.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at an hour and 40 minutes as opposed to 25 minutes.
Right.
So I sat down with some of the senior guys there in my house, and I kind of laid things out for them. And someone said something that had always stuck with me. They said, hey, man, this job's going to be here whether you're here or not. And one of these days, you're going to have to retire. What do you want to retire on? A broken pension? A broken body?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want to bank this on?
Yes.
Or do you want that family?
Yeah.
And that hit hard because when I left Gary, man, I wept like a child.
I bet.
Because I truly loved those guys.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I love those guys. Even the guys that are gone, I'm loyal to them. You can't tell me a bad thing about them because I'm not going to believe it.
Well, that's how they raised you. I mean, they literally raised you in your early years of the fire service. And you, I mean, I wrote that down. It says loyalty is huge. They're constantly pushing you forward. Your own words. You said that before.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is they didn't have to.
Right.
They didn't have to. They could have just said, oh, this is some kid who's just here to fight fire and whatever. But they saw something, and they took that time.
Well, and that's, I'm glad you recognize that, right? Because how humble you are. But, yeah, they recognize something in you. I'm sure they didn't invest into everybody like that, and then for you to have this life, these life issues, real life pop up and say, like, man, I'm an hour and 45 minutes each way from here. I want to start a family. I want to do all these different things, and then you had the courage to have the conversation with those brothers at the table, right? Like, what does this look like? And for them to pass on sound advice to you, you know, they could have said like, hey man, you can't leave here. And you probably would have stayed.
Yeah. And you're right. If that would have come across like that,
Yeah.
I'd still be in that city.
You
There's no doubt.
probably would be, right? And life
There's
would be
no
different.
doubt.
But I think that's the best part about the friendships and the mentorship and the trusted relationships we have in the fire service, and how important it is to surround yourself with good people. These guys, you know, bled with you, cried with you, laughed with you, and then told you to get out of there.
Yes.
Yeah, like, you think about that, right? And that's not
deep.
that's huge. That's huge.
Deep. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's deep. I mean,
it's very
deep.
deep.
There's still times I still relive it. I still relive the conversations. I still relive the good times, because there was so much more than just fighting fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was so much more than just running into burning buildings, and there was that human aspect, you know. But in that transition, I fell transitioning from the Gary position into Elkhart. I fell into my own worst place. I had an ego. I was arrogant. You know, I'm coming off of Squad 2, Gary, Indiana, and you can't tell me shit.
And how old were you? In your young 30s?
30s, yeah, young 30s.
So you're still young, man. Still
going
young.
Going over to another department that a little bit smaller, great people. I mean, fantastic people, you know. But God bless them, because some of them really had to put up with an ego, and it was bad, because I thought I was on top. I mean, I really did. I really thought, you know, man, I'm at the pinnacle. I'm awesome. I mean, I had an ego that was my downfall. And it still to this day hampers me, because I don't want to go back to that. I fight that, you know. I mean, I want to be confident. I want to exude confidence. I want to show people you can do this job and be confident within yourself. But you got to be respectable from where you came from. You got to be humble about it, because at any point in time, this can be taken away from you.
Talk to me. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna prompt you a little bit further on that, because I think so many people struggle with this, and I wanna ask how you came to realize that this was a hard, you know, a downfall for you in a way, but I also want to hear more about it. I mean, when you go from a very busy company in a very busy city, going to work on every shift, if you will, to a smaller job that doesn't offer the abilities, and you're young, and the bravado is kicking in, I've been there, I've done this, I know this, man, come on, this is, I did all this before breakfast at the other place, right? To then try to find a way to meld that into your new opportunity, your new career, your new place. That's hard. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle, right? Is really trying to dial that back and understand that every job is a little bit different, and you need to find your way to find that compromise, if you will, for lack of better words. No?
Yeah, and you know, when you say it, it's kind of funny, because as I transitioned in that, you know, there was an academy of guys that I was supposed to have been in with, but there was a hang up with our state perf pension, so I got delayed a little bit making the transition. And so I come in, I meet with the fire chief in Elkhart, good guy, and he says, "Well, we're going to give you 8-day, you know, so you kind of learn how to do it our way, and we're gonna move forward, and you come to company." And there was one battalion chief that stood up and said, "No, we're not. We're going to do a live fire with this guy. I want to see what he's about." A guy named by the name of Jay Michaels. He ended up being my first battalion chief in Elkhart.
Okay.
And he did. He pulled the reins. The administration's like, "Yeah, this kid's coming from Gary, man. He's good. He's got it. Yeah, whatever." And one guy stood up and said, "Nah, I can understand the 8 days, but we're going to do a live burn. I'm going to be involved with this." And you know what? When I heard that, I automatically knew, because you know where it took me back to? It took me back to the old school guys in Gary, Indiana.
There you go.
Because I thought to myself, this guy's a dog. This is a guy. This is a guy I want to work for. This is a guy that says, "No, we're not cutting the corners. This kid ain't nobody special."
Love that.
And dude, I fell in love with him as my battalion chief. And God bless him. God bless my first truck company officer. Because I went straight to the truck in Elkhart. you know, Jay and Dave, they're saints because they put up with me, and I owe them tons because they had to tone me back a little bit. Hey man, drop the tube. You're not God's gift to the fire service.
Yeah.
You know, but love them to death because they had the balls to say it.
Did you recognize that from the get, or did it take you a little more time to mature to understand what they were doing and where they were coming from?
At first, it was like, oh, what the hell? You know?
Screw you guys, man. I'm from Gary. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I got you. You know?
Right. That's that ego, right? That's the ego.
Bigger than life, you know?
Yeah.
And then through that, you know, I started to see, you know, and we did. Elkhart was burning too. I mean, we weren't going as heavy as Gary, but boy, we caught some jobs. We caught some good jobs. And then as I worked for my officer, you know, there for a while, Dave, and, you know, hey man, we really want to focus on the outside vent position and this and that. Let's really focus on this on the rig for the job. So we kind of started, you know, kind of forming that. What are the key roles of that outside vent man position? You know, he put me into it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was a couple years on the job about this time, probably my second year there, and you know, things were going well, but I still had the ego. I had high expectations, and this is the other areas where I self-destructed is in those areas, and in that ego-driven, perfect look. I want everything to be perfect. My family suffered. My wife, my kids, they suffered because I couldn't turn it off. I was bringing that stuff home.
The ego,
and it was horrible.
The bravado, the ego, the attitude.
Yeah. I was the bantam rooster walking around. And you know what? I beat myself up for it every day because I was so worried about what I had seen and what I knew how bad this world was, that there were times I held my kids back from doing stuff. Not because I didn't trust them. I didn't want something to happen to them.
Really? Interesting.
So instead of being there to pick them up when things went wrong, I just shut down the situation before it started. You know, and it's taken me a long time to even realize that.
Wow.
You know, and my run in Elkhart, I mean, I had some legal battles with my youngest daughter. Wasn't my best parenting moves and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I was arrested on shift.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, ego blown up, huge. You know, this is the downfall of Chris Overpeck, because I was so full of ego and arrogance, I couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't want to self-reflect. I expected everybody else to be at my level. I was so far off base, it wasn't funny.
Was this your drug, if you will? Like the adrenaline of the ego, the knowing better, the always got to be right? Am I right with this? Like, you fed off? I mean, you were feeding yourself, right? Like when you can't do no wrong, and you've never been wrong, and everything you're doing is right, and your opinion matters, and all that stuff, right? Like you fuel yourself. It's like a drug.
It is. You know, and I didn't know how to control it because, like I said, I had such high expectations because of what I expected. You know, here's a kid that came out of high school and didn't have any direction. Now I have something that I'm good at.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it bit me. I mean, I did. I collapsed. I said I got arrested on shift. It's all over the newspapers because, you know, cops, police, and teachers make great news stories.
Sure.
You know, went through a whole bunch of stuff. And my wife's from Southern Indiana, and always made a promise to her, hey, if we have a chance to get to Southern Indiana, I would definitely look at it. So I wanted to be fair to her. She didn't really like that region up there. She was from an area south of Indy, you know. And so my whole time at Elkhart, I mean, I had friendships. You know, we were doing trainings. I was still involved in the volunteer service. We were doing live acquired structure burns all the time. I mean, I had a core of friends, a core of people. But my pride got me, man.
Yeah.
Because of decisions that I made in ego and arrogance, my pride was shot. You know, and after all this court stuff, I mean, it wasn't a long time. I felt horrible because I let that department down as a whole.
Were you pushing a lot of people away during that?
To an extent, yeah.
You know, like it's my way or get out of my way type thing? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. You know, I was naive. This is how we did it. This is how it needs to be done. It's not stupid. Come on, no,
Yeah.
that's not. You know, there's what they say, 9 different ways to skin a cat.
Sure.
Um, and I learned it the hard way because I did. I fell flat on my face. You know, so so to kind of speed up, you know, so I made this promise to my wife, and during all that, they start hiring in different areas in southern Indiana, and that's where I kind of looked at Terre Haute.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't want to go into any of the big, metropolis cities and stuff like that, like Indianapolis. And it was not like I said, nothing against the guys. I just didn't want to be anything that big and just be a number.
I
I
get it.
wanted to try to be something, you know, try to do something. And you know, so I tested. I tested really well, and during all my interviews, I was upfront about everything. Yeah, this is what happened in my court case. I mean, you know, I mean, I didn't hide anything. I wanted to be completely transparent because, like I said, I was still struggling with myself.
Yeah.
You know, I get here to Terre Haute, and one of the conditions to take a job here, you had to be a paramedic.
Mm.
And so I came on the job, went through the academy, everything was fine. Had a great group of classmates. We go to medic school, and I'd never done EMS. I mean, we just the departments I was on, I was never
Yeah. Never
around
had.
the EMS
Yeah.
aspect.
Right.
Yeah, and so I come down here and struggle through paramedic school. Absolutely struggled. You know, I mean, you're looking at a guy who took the test 7 times.
Wow. Yeah.
And you know, there's people down here that I owe my career to. You know, Rusty Baumgartner was one of them. You know, Kevin Poole was another one. These guys took time out of their day and their positions to help me get through these tests
Mm.
because they saw something in me. Maybe it was just because I was persistent. I'm not getting this. I need the help. I mean, I'd go to shift, and then my 2 days off, I was in Chief Baumgartner's office trying to understand this, trying to pass these tests.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually, after the first time I took the class and took the refresher and took it another 3 times and failed all 6, I go back to a paramedic program, still continually work with them on my off days, go in my 7th time and finally pass the test. You know, so everything up until this point, you know, was ego, ego, ego. I fall on my face, and then in sets depression.
Yeah. That's what
Because
That's what I was gonna ask you. I mean, was this?
bro,
Yeah.
and during, you know, and so I'm looking at my 3rd year on the job here in Terre Haute, finally a paramedic. I am battling depressions and the mental demons. I'm sitting here looking at my career, looking at my life as a failure at this point in time. And it wasn't because of Terre Haute or anybody on the job, because of my own demons.
Yeah.
You know, and so as times progressed, you know, I mean, my kids have all gotten older. They're all out on their own. They're all doing phenomenal in this world. And thank God they didn't take after me. I'm starting to review and see things differently. So as things progress, you know, I struggled for years. The ambulance wore me down. I mean, it's just because I wasn't used to it. It wasn't my cup of tea. You know,
Yeah.
standing
I
out in
get
front
it.
of a house,
I
watching
get it.
guys go to work, and I'm standing there. I mean, this is, oh my gosh, it was excruciating.
I'm sure.
But it was part of the path I had to take for the city here. I had to do it. I knew it coming in, and I knew it was part of it. So it wasn't like it was a surprise. You know,
Right.
it was my own choice.
Right.
You know, and I've been fortunate enough. You know, I made my time up on the ambulance. Had some good runs, had some bad runs, had some phenomenal partners on the ambulance, and got into suppression. Was still kind of bouncing back and forth between suppression and the ambulance, and finally got into suppression pretty much full time because, you know, I hit my 10-year mark. So I wasn't on the ambulance as much. Got into Station 3 driving for Steve, and got re-sparked. Steve's really big on training and education.
Now, how many years is that, Chris, into the fire service where you get a re-spark?
Oh, shoot. Let's see. I mean, that was 4 years ago now.
Really? So you're at
yeah.
29 years in the fire. I didn't even get into your whole intro. We just dove right in.
Yeah,
But
I know, it's fun,
29 years in the fire service, 22 years as a career fireman. Currently, you know, a lieutenant in Terre Haute, Indiana, as a suppression lieutenant, right? And so on. And you still volunteer. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But so 4 years ago, so you're talking 18 years in the career fire service, and you're getting a re-spark now.
I'm doing the off body restoration.
Mm.
You know, with depression came weight, came the demons, and I needed to get back with the dogs again, because with these times, I was still teaching. I've been with Laverne Fires for a while now. We're based out of Missouri,
Yeah.
but I had to get back into it. And so Steve sparked it on the job. I got back into teaching more and more, but I really have had to start looking at things differently. And then the first round of lieutenant's test come up, and I passed on it. Second test comes around. Worked with Steve really, really hard, scored really well, and was able to make the list and got promoted. So in essence, a very short time here in Terre Haute. I mean, I've had a lot of things happen. A lot of positives, a lot of negatives, but it's that point now where I can't be that person of, well, why don't they know, or where, how come they failed? No, I mean, I'm trying to look at things differently. What happened with these situations? Did the person not know?
Yeah.
Were they just not taught? I mean, we have to look at things completely differently now. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just trying to follow. So what I'm trying to figure out is that, I often talk about experience and maturity, and with maturity comes some clarity, right? And, when you have the type of career you do, where you had very highs and then some lows and then some real lows, and then the ability to come back around and find that hook to get you excited about the job again, do you find that low allowed you, I mean, as bad as that was, the depression side of it and the longing for what you had known, do you think that somehow influenced your being re-excited about the job, but this time in a different way, right? Because you're a much different person than you're painting the picture of who you were 22 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Big time.
Very different. Because knowing you like I do and how we talk, I don't sense any of that bravado or that, assurance that I'm better than you type thing. I know better. Like, I have the experience to prove it type better. Like, you don't come across that way at all. So where did that change happen? Like, how did you make that change happen? Because I think a lot of people that are going to listen to this that can recognize that ego side of things maybe need to understand that there has to be a time where you're going to have to reconcile and you're going to have to figure out how to level out that aggressive nature to bring it more full circle, no?
Yeah. The one thing I can pinpoint is one of my mentors, he died. And I'm trying to get teared up on you here.
It's okay.
But Big Joe meant the world to so many people, and he took so much time to teach. I mean, stretching hallways, he would stop you. Hey kid, come here, look at this. And then when I get the phone call, it said, hey man, Joe died. That was that thunderclap. That was that punch in the face, because I thought, damn, I totally, and I don't want to say I forgot, but I lost my way on way I was raised.
There you go.
I didn't forget the importance, because it's still there, but I forgot about it. I didn't make that the priority. I didn't make the job better than I found it. I was creating more havoc than I was good.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And then shortly after Big Joe, we started losing them. I mean, it seemed like every phone call I got from one of the guys up north, somebody else passed away. Somebody else is struggling. Somebody else has got bad health issues. And then bam, they're gone.
Did you find yourself following in their footsteps with mentoring along the way? Like, did you, or, I mean, I know you do today for sure, but before you had this reconnection, this fire lit under you once you got out of the medical side, came back to suppression really, and dove all in with Steve and just getting a fire lit under your ass again about loving the job and so on. Is that where now for you, it's more about giving back to this job, promoting this job, being a mentor for people, putting it out there? I mean, were you giving back like these guys were to you prior?
No.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest.
No, and that's
I lost it.
Yes, right.
I lost it because of self-interest, greed, ego, arrogance, however you want to label it, I'll take it and I'll own it, because that's where I was at.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, then they start passing away, and I'm thinking, damn, the one thing I forgot about was loyalty.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Oh,
Ouch.
bro.
I just got chills on that one.
Ooh.
Yeah, bring it back around. I mean, yeah.
I lost the loyalty that these guys gave me, that these guys made an emphasis on. You're loyal to your crew, you're loyal to your captain, you're loyal to your station, you're loyal to your department. I lost that. I forgot. I lost my way. And I was on that 40-day hike in the desert, that far lost. I mean, I was clueless. And the past couple of years, I've been on a crusade righting the wrongs. People that I have crossed, people that I had argued with or told them that they were wrong, I've gone back and apologized to. I'm taking advantage of that, because I'm watching my mentors die.
Yeah.
Did they leave with any regrets? I don't want people to say, "Oh, he was an asshole." I want them to say, "Hey, man, I learned a lot from that guy," and have a good thought. I don't want them to. I don't want that perception to be there. I mean, I was so deep into it that I lost my way on it. I forgot.
Yeah.
And like I said, then when I start seeing it and this and that, I mean, it's a blunt reality. When your mentors are leaving, not the way you expect them to.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry.
No, please go.
And it's like, I got to that reality. I got that smack in the face, the punch in the gut. I got to do better. I've got to be better. And it's not for me. I've only got a handful of years left in suppression. I know that. It's these younger generations that are coming in, because that's who's going to carry this on. 5 years after I'm gone, after I retire, I'm just a name. I'm a badge number. That's it.
Legacy.
But if I can make it, if I can make an impact, and I can give somebody something to build on, and if that's even me being completely transparent and saying I've screwed up, I've made bad decisions, I've affected my job, I've disrespected my mentors, I've disrespected my family, my kids. I walked away from obligations that I made promises to because of ego. That's the worst place to be in life.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And it is. It's been a recharge.
But you've gotten yourself to a point now where you've come back around. I mean, you understand the importance of that. You understand the importance of legacy in leaving it on the table here and now. Yeah. And I think that, listen, I think we all lose our way at some point and find our way back, whether it's on a grand scale or a smaller scale. I think, this is a long play. The fire service, it's a career, whether volunteer or career. It is a career, because it's not a 5 year and out type deal, right? If you're all in, you're all in, and it's going to be 20, 25, 30, 50, 60, 80 years of you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a long play. You have a long way to go. And I think with maturity comes the understanding, that it's much bigger than us. I know when I was younger, man, I mean, Captain Screamer was one of my names. I mean, I thought I knew everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had tremendous ego. Now I have tremendous ego, but I have conviction to follow it up with, right? And
That's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, and I've come to understand that it's all about delivery as well. Like, you have to, you can have the biggest ego in the room, but sometimes with the biggest ego comes a way to be able to know when to check it and then when to use it, right? It doesn't need to be on display 24/7. And that, I think, comes through the maturity of it. And for you to share all of this today is super powerful, to understand your journey and looking back now over almost 30 years in the fire service, 22 years of a career, very busy career departments. You've had the time to really look back at your own career now and say, like, I want to be better. I want to be known for this. I want to do this. And you've got yourself there now. I think that's what matters most.
Big time. And I'm still a work under progress. I know I am.
Well, let me
I know I have a path to still travel.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You got a long road ahead of you, buddy. I promise you that, because you have so much to bring to the table. And just sitting back and listening to you and talking with you, whether on this episode or just when you and I caught up before FDIC, we chatted on the phone for a bit. And then I saw you briefly at FDIC. I wish I had more time. I apologize. But, But you said something before we hit the record button today that stood out, and I wrote it down. It was funny. I was like, I'm already taking notes, and we're not even recording yet. But you said we were talking about your volunteer department. You guys had a fire last night, right?
Oh, yeah. I moved. My family's from a small community north of Terre Haute by about 25 miles called Rockville. And about 5-6 years ago, we were looking at moving in the area, and we did. And I knew there was a volunteer service there. My grandfather volunteered there years ago.
That's cool.
Years ago. And small farming community, it wasn't anything major, but they've had a career paid guy since like the late 1800s. They've always had one paid guy. And I did. I wanted to move up there. We bought a house and got to know my neighbors. And I thought, I got a skill set. I can't sit here if something happens in my community because I have family that still lives there.
I get it.
And not be involved. I can't, how can I sit on a couch knowing there's a house fire going and I'm just sitting on my butt?
Yeah.
So I came on with them and, kind of came through the ranks of the firefighter, got offered a lieutenant's position a handful of years ago. They also asked me to take on the training division. We've put together a complete training facility. We've built ourselves. Progressively, we could teach Class A basement fires in this facility, and we've built this. This is our sweat and blood. This is no state funding. This is all that department.
I love it.
This is guys who knew how to weld and knew how to fabricate. We put this whole complex together, and we started bringing programs in, and we started teaching, and they've allowed me to run with a lot of different avenues. And I'll tell you, to watch these guys perform is phenomenal. I can't tell you where we were at 5 years ago. I'm not saying it's just me. It's an accumulated whole of everybody. Everybody working hard. Everybody understanding the focus. These guys perform beautifully. We had a job last night, and we still have one paid guy. We have a paid fire chief, and we have an inspector Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. So during the week, you're pretty good. During the daytime, you have 3 guys rolling out of the firehouse. But at night, it's one guy. And we've been teaching classes to get them to think and to make every move you make it successful for the overall fire ground. Yeah. Last night we get called out, and not too long ago we were donated a platform from a community north of us. It was a town that's up there. They had a 85-foot aerial platform. We had in Rockville over 100 buildings we couldn't get to the roof on. And they knew it. They donated their old platform to us.
Wow.
So here we've built a whole aerial program of a department that's never had an aerial. And, we're constantly evolving, constantly trying to push these guys. And these guys are bought. They're bought in. They're about it. They ask questions. You go into the firehouse, there's always fire conversation going on. Books are out on tables. Guys are totally involved. We're teaching classes. We're having a blast. We're having fun. But I'll tell you, man, when the tones drop for these guys to perform, they're amazing.
I love it.
Absolutely amazing to watch because, man, you can teach them everything in the book, but you can't teach heart. And I'll tell you, every one of those guys have one of the biggest hearts for that community because their families live in those communities. And that's the thing. We always had the cliche saying, look in the mirror. Are you going to be the fireman that somebody, that you would want to save your own family?
That's right.
These guys have got it.
Wow, and this is what, a farming community? This is the American Volunteer Fire Service that, a lot of people don't understand is that, there is tremendous buy-in and heart from the volunteer firefighters in the communities that they live and work in. This is a place that they take tremendous pride in. Their kids go to the schools. Their relatives have stores on Main Street. They have tremendous buy-in. All they need, they have the heart and the civic drive to do this. Let's just get them the tools they need, right? Let's educate them about, what and how are the best tactics and skills and so on. I love that. But you talked specifically to me about the fire you had last night, and you said it is overwhelming to watch it all come together, and it makes all the hard work worth it.
Oh, without a doubt. Our driver last night pulls up on the A side of the house, fires on the C side. He circles the block, comes back around, repositions the rig, grabs our 2-inch hose and goes to work.
Yeah.
myself and one of the other guys brought the aerial and the second engine in, and we're pulling up, and he's got 95% of the fire knocked out. And it was all because of him paying attention and him making the right calls, because of the knowledge that we've all been trying to share over these past 5 years up there. You know, I mean, these guys are amazing. They're phenomenal. I'm so proud to watch the growth on each one of them. I'm so proud to watch the dedication. It's absolutely I'm just amazing.
Yeah, it's huge. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I wonder, you know, like where you are today, man. I mean, you have such a passion and appreciation for, I think, the foundation for which you learned this job against. However, you found and made it now your way, the way that you wanted it to represent who you are, correct?
Yes. And like I said, it is still a work of art, man. I mean, it's still ongoing. I'm still during the restoration. I don't think I'll ever be done with the restoration when I retire. I love this too much. I mean, I've got time invested. I have people who invested time in me, and I'm not going to let them down anymore. I did it once. That's enough.
Yeah, and most importantly, you can't let yourself down.
Nope.
I think that's one of the biggest aspects of it, and I think a lot of people don't focus on that either. But, you know, there's a lot of people counting on you and a lot of people that were there in your beginning and helped raise you and make you who you are, but you still got to form your own path, and you still got to make yourself happy too. And if you're not happy, I can't stress this enough, the people that listen to this podcast, there's a lot of people out there that are looking for something more, and a lot of times it's because they don't focus on themselves. And sometimes you got to focus and refocus on yourself. Chris, what a powerful story, brother. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
you know,
sharing that.
I appreciate you letting me to share it, you know, and you have my phone number. If anybody ever reaches out to you and says, hey, man, send them my way.
Of course.
I can't tell them I can give them any answers, but I'm here to listen, because that's what it took for me to get through a lot of it. It's just some really good friends of mine just listening to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me air it out.
Well,
not judging me.
And you had the ability to have some good friends. I mean,
I do.
You obviously, you know, as much as you say you had some tough times along the way, you also had very good times too that allowed people to be in your court and in your corner when you needed them most. And I think that that's something to be said as well.
Yes, I'm very fortunate. I count that as a blessing every day.
I love it. Brother, thank you. What a fantastic conversation today. I mean, I know we only like literally scratched the surface. This is the problem. I'm trying to keep these episodes to like an hour.
I'm sure
right?
I'm over an hour, and I'm so sorry.
We're just about at an hour now, but that's not really the point. Like, I don't sit here and hover around that mark and be like, "Oh, are we going to shut this down?" But I don't want to. You know, it's important to me to make sure that the episode is full for the listener. As well as, I mean, you and I could talk for hours and hours, and we do. And, you know, but like, you're one of those guys that like, I'll have you back on again and we'll go down a different road. But the fact that you were willing to share your story today about ego and, you know, and it's, and the fact that we learned from our mistakes, we didn't even go down that road. And how important that is, right? We talked about that in the pre-show. Yeah, you know, but allowing yourself to be vulnerable to make those mistakes, allowing and putting yourself out there to learn from your mistakes matters, and so on.
If somebody can learn from me too,
yeah,
take the mistakes I've learned. Listen to what I'm saying. You don't want to go down that path.
Yeah,
you know, do the right thing as much as you can. It's not always popular, but if you do the right thing, you're going to be able to hold your head held high.
That's such a theme on this show. Do the right thing. I can't stress that enough, man. I really can't. I think that doing the right thing is always the right thing.
Yep.
You could probably argue with me on that and find specific examples where maybe it's not, but I still believe in the long run, the right thing is always the right thing. And if you're not doing the right thing, or you're not, you know, if you're not, then fix it. Do it. You're going to get more satisfaction out of that. It might be difficult up front, but the long play on doing the right thing is always the right thing. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Chris Overpeck, thank you, brother. Thank you for joining me today.
I love you.
You're the best,
love you
man.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And like I said, if anybody reaches out, you got my number, man. My phone's always on.
100%. I appreciate that.
Not, okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Chris, more than you know. And there's always people that are hungry and looking and so on. So I will certainly do that and, you know, and so on. But For you to spend an hour of your time today with me and just sharing some of your story and putting yourself out there, I appreciate that, man. It means a lot
I
to me.
appreciate what you guys do for us. I really do.
Thank you. That means the world coming from you.
It's huge. I mean, because this is what the fire service needs.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why we do what we do. And it's conversations like this that fuel me to continue to do it, because I just think that it does bring value. And it's not me, it's the guests. It's the storytelling, it's the guests. And it's getting, having a community that we can share a message across is just important to me. So, Chris Overpeck, thank you, brother, for joining me today. I appreciate you. Stay right here. I'm just going to sign off the podcast. I'm going to come right back to you, buddy.
All right, bro.
Cool. Thank you. Everyone, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Chris Overpeck, almost 30 years in the fire service, 22 years in some very busy fire departments throughout Indiana. Unbelievable conversation today. Do me a favor, take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it, because when you're talking about the job, we're making the job better. If you want to get in touch with Chris, let me know. Send me a DM, shoot me an email at podcast@nationalfireradio.com. He loves chatting with people, so please do not hesitate to reach out. And anyway, thank you. I appreciate you all for tuning in and being a part of our community at the National Fire Radio Podcast and social media channels. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.